2, 3, sync. Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Combat Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. So I just finished doing a seminar. It's the third time I've been here. I'm in Athens, Georgia, and I'm at Randy Mcelwee's place. Why don't you go ahead and tell us where you are, what the name of your school is, and
all right, so Randy Mcelwee in Northwest Georgia, Athens, Georgia, home of the University of Georgia. Been here for the past 19 years.
Wow. And you've been running the school for 19 years?
Yes, yeah, we started back in 2005. I retired from the military after 23 years in the U.S. Army and decided that this is what I wanted to do.
So tell us about your journey, about how you got started, what you did when you opened your academy, and what you're doing right now.
Okay, so I actually got started with Jiu-Jitsu back in October of 1997. While I was in the military, I was developing a program for Army Special Forces and saw the first UFC back in the early 90s when Hoist kind of like destroyed everybody with it. And then we decided that we needed to implement it into our program. I started building the program using Gracie Jiu-Jitsu for our guys. And then it just kind of became, an obsession for me. And then I got my choice of assignments after Afghanistan and came to Athens, Georgia for my final assignment at the University of Georgia at the Military Science Department. And then I retired in 2005 and opened the academy. The main reason I did it is because I didn't want to travel anymore. I wanted to be home to be with my son and have him around. And since then, I've kind of had him at the school with me every day. So,
what's the name of your academy again?
We're Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Athens and American Black Belt Academy.
And you're affiliated under?
We started out as a indirect affiliate of the Pedro Sauer Association. Then we were later an indirect affiliate of the Gracie University, and then back in 2016 became a Pedro Sauer affiliate again.
Now, I guess one of the things that draws me here and has me here coming here is your self-defense focus.
We like to stay very self-defense focused. These days a lot of jiu-jitsu has started to evolve and really focus on the sport aspect, probably because it is so much fun to get out there and compete. But for us, it's all about being able to first and foremost defend yourself.
Yeah. Same here. And we always have to think with the mindset of, can I get hit from here? Can I get struck?
Absolutely. We look at it too as, the big question is, will it work against somebody who's 6 inches or more taller and 60 pounds or more heavier? Because, out on the street, there are no weight classes. There's no referees to make sure you're evenly matched, and almost never are you attacked by somebody who's smaller.
Yeah. One of the things that I know is that you have a pretty unique background, right? I know that you did, was it level 1 combatives in the Army at the time? Or
yeah.
Is that what it was called? Because that was when Horian and Hoist was teaching it, right?
Originally, they came out with the Modern Army Combatives program, and it's a tiered program. When we were doing it, they hadn't really developed that course or system yet, and so we had reached out to Hoist and Horian, and they were working with us directly. And so we didn't really have the formal Army system. We had our own program that later developed into the Modern Army Combatives program and then evolved into the civilian aspect of what's now known as Gracie Combatives.
So you and your team were involved in the development of the level 1 Army Combatives?
We weren't directly involved with it because
it was the reason that they actually got started after.
I don't think we could take credit for doing that. It was kind of a parallel system. We had our own process going on while it was being more formally developed at the infantry school in Fort Benning, Georgia. And the entire time we were kind of working our own process, building our own system that was a little more tailored to our guys, at the unit in Special Forces.
So who was the one that brought Hoist and Horian in?
I worked it out to bring them in. Initially, we found that they were doing these seminars that were, kind of close to us. They would do one in the fall in Memphis, Tennessee, with a school there that was run and still run by Chad Chilcutt. And then they had another one in the spring that was in Louisville, Kentucky. And we were kind of centrally located between the two. It was about 3.5 hour drive each way. And they would have these long weekend immersion seminars. And we initially got it approved that, I could take a few of my guys. We would go to these seminars for the long 3-day weekends, be immersed in the training, and then we would bring it back, train our teams, and then train other teams and put together the program that the unit was using at the time.
Very nice. One of the pioneers. Now, when you started running your academy here, was it run as a jiu-jitsu academy?
Originally, we actually started as a karate school because I was only a blue belt at the time. I'd gotten my blue belt from Hoist Gracie, and my background originally was as a karate black belt. And so our primary program was actually karate, and then I was doing the jiu-jitsu kind of as a sideline in order to train myself. So I was training myself and running the school at the same time.
Gotcha.
Because there really wasn't much to be found as far as Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and qualified instructors. Once I opened the academy, it wasn't too long after that I found an instructor in up in the Atlanta area in Roswell, 2 hours away from me, and then I started making the drive once or twice a week, 2 hours each way, in order to get my training.
Wow.
And did that for 9 years because there just wasn't any other way to get the training, especially to learn authentic Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and start to build on that process. As a blue belt, I had just scratched the tip of the iceberg and just barely gotten the addiction, so I had to keep going.
So who would you say is your primary instructor over the years?
Wow. So, I've kind of had it in phases. So Hoist and Horian got me to blue belt and really established my foundation. I got to give massive credit to Eddie Camden, who runs Tiger Academy in Roswell, Georgia, for those 9 years of working me from blue belt to brown belt and carrying on that detailed, systematic process of really keeping it in line with Grandmaster Elio's teachings.
And then Pedro gave you the black belt.
And I had my black belt awarded by Professor Pedro Sauer in March of 2018. So only took me 20 years to get a black belt. I was a blue belt for 12 years. And part of that because of, my obligations with the military, but mostly because there really wasn't any place to train and progress and go from blue belt to purple belt.
It's funny, people are spoiled these days because there's a jiu-jitsu academy, not on every block yet, but at least every town or city. You should be able to come to at least the 1 or 2 places that you can train. But when we started, based on now the story you're telling me, it's like you had to drive 2 hours each way to go. I thought it was bad because I'd moved to California so I could train with Horian, Hoist, and Hickson from Hawaii, where I was training with Helson. But I had to get on with my life, so which is why I moved.
Right.
But I still lived an hour away from Hickson's academy, and my daily commute to work, to the academy, and back home was at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just throughout the day in 3 drives, and I did that every day. And it's just shown how much it's grown since then, to where you really have no excuse not to train if this is something you want to do. Now, you have a lot of people that come in here. Tell us about what you do when you walk people through your academy.
Well, generally, when people first come in, what we're really trying to show them is that, we're good folks. We have a good time, and we really stick to the idea of teaching you to be able to defend yourself. For us, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is a vehicle to personal success, and that's kind of the way we approach it for everybody. Is once they come in, we realize that the majority of people that come in don't really know what Jiu-Jitsu is, don't really know what we do, how we do it. And a lot of times, people forget how much courage it takes to walk into a strange place where people choke each other for fun and, to take that on as a new endeavor. So there's a lot of fear there that people may not be open about, and they may be trying to hide it. So we try to break that down for them and let them know that, hey, it's a good time. We're great people, and we have a lot of great people. That's our biggest advantage, to where they can come in and work on their personal goals through jiu-jitsu to experience. And you and I were talking about it earlier, that it's a great opportunity to fail again and again on a compressed scale without it being catastrophic. So
Correct.
great lesson.
Yeah. Now, you run a pretty good sized academy here, and this facility is awesome. So if you're in the Athens area, you should really be coming out here. So one quick thing that we had talked about. Tell me about your systems.
Systems. Okay, so one of the things we do and actually specialize in is systems. Because I was in the military, and because that is how I was developed while I was in Special Forces, is everything for us is a system. We make it that way because systems, help you save yourself time, energy, and money, and it makes the process repeatable and more rapidly repeatable. So for us, everything needs to be a system. So our curriculum is very detailed. A lot of places claim to have a curriculum, but what they have is a technique list.
Yeah.
Or a guidebook on what you should know. We have an actual very detailed curriculum at each level that outlines specifically what we want you to be learning at each phase. And then we take it a step further with all of our systems for helping to bring people in and have a systematic way to make them feel comfortable, to get them out on the mat and to get them training and help them set their own goals and progress with jiu-jitsu as the vehicle.
It's funny because many of you who watch my videos over the years know that we're a systematized school as well. Our curriculum is very much, there's the combat jiu-jitsu curriculum, and then there's a methodology. So the methodology is what we use to get the curriculum into you. And it's a system, just like Randy's is a system as well. But now tell me this for your instructors. If you get a purple belt and they're really good, do you just let them teach?
No, actually, we actually require all of our purple belts to learn how to teach, and we have a system to develop them through that process. But we don't just let anybody teach. One of the big things I've noticed over the years is I've seen a lot of people that are black belts and they're phenomenal on the mat, but they're not phenomenal as instructors, and they're not phenomenal on the business side. And we take it seriously that as a business, we've got the responsibility when somebody walks through the door, we're promising that we're going to be around long enough for them to become black belts. And that takes a while. It may not take as long as it took me, but the key is we've got to be here for them, and we've got to have a process to take them there. So we've got to be competent in how we run the business and professional so that we will last. And over the years, we've seen probably 5 or 6 schools in the area near us, close. They weren't all jiu-jitsu schools, but they were martial arts schools, and that all happened because they weren't as serious about their business as they were about their training on the mats. And the same thing goes for being instructors. Just because you can exhibit stuff or execute it doesn't mean you can relay it and communicate it. And so we have a process where we take our folks through learning how to become instructors and how to teach it.
So basically, instructor training program.
Oh, definitely instructor training program. We have an internal 3-layer program that we call STORM. It's our special team of role models. Each one of those 3 layers is a 10-week program to where we take them through the process to become instructors, and they have to go through all 3 levels in order to, to be recognized for our standpoint to be instructors. And for a few years, I've taught the instructor training for the Pater Sauer Association. And one of the key things is to make sure that people know the aspects of leadership and the principles that are associated with being an instructor. You've got to understand goal setting, you've got to understand personal communication, and above all, you've got to be able to connect with the students themselves and pass on the information.
So this is a bunch of gold nuggets here for you all. If you run a school and you can't just throw people in to teach just because you don't feel like teaching, because believe me, we get burned out, right? And after you teach 5, 6, 7 days a week, you do that for so long and you can't do it anymore, and you want to just have some relief. Just get a guy, just go ahead and teach class for me. And then you watch him and you're like, man, he's my best student, but he's not a good instructor. So that's where you run them through the program, right? So now that's a separate thing for people who run schools. Is you got to teach, and then you got to teach people how to teach. And if you don't systematize it, just like if you don't systematize your curriculum, then it's random. And if it's random, you can't repeat it, and you can't duplicate it, and you can't create a long line of blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, black belts that are all competent. And Randy's one of the only ones that I've come across who does think like that. Just like Gracie University, I mean, that's kind of how they systematize it as well.
Yeah, very well.
Right. Now, that necessarily doesn't, okay, people say, well, but, these guys are better here, these guys are better there. But also, if you look at, say, a John Danaher, he's got it all systematized too. And that's why his guys are really good. But when you do randomly, then you could have two purple belts that came up in the same school, and they don't do the same things. They can't teach the same things. They can't execute the same things. Right? Now, of course, one is always going to be better in one position than another. But when you have them both know everything because you ran through a system, such as what Randy's doing, then you know that they all know it. And that's really the important thing.
I think sometimes people get, a little concerned with systems because they're afraid that they'll create too much structure and they'll have clones. And so our system actually has a process built into it. So in the beginning, there's a structure to build a solid foundation. And then there's portions of it later that actually emphasize developing your own process and becoming, the individual that you are and applying that to jiu-jitsu. And we didn't get that way overnight. We put the same effort into going after the training to become instructors and be professional in that aspect as I did in, going after the jiu-jitsu, knowledge itself. And we went through some programs that are well known. The Dave Kovar has one that we've been through several times. Other well renowned from the Cooper Institute. So I did a lot of those training programs as well as instructor training programs that I received while I was in the military. And we're constantly building on that to improve our communication and to make sure that we are professional instructors as well as competent at jiu-jitsu.
So for those of you who are looking for a school, need to look for these types of qualities in the school that you're going to. Now, of course, if you don't have that ability because you're just in a small town and there's only one school, then yeah, you're going to just have to learn the way they're teaching. But when you can, try to come out to a place like Randy's here at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of Athens, or come out to Combat Jiu-Jitsu, or any other school that you know of that does run a system, so then that way you can learn some pretty defined things and not just learning random stuff here and there, which some people can learn like that.
A lot of guys, we talk about that folks are either artists or they're engineers. And some of the guys in jiu-jitsu, they're phenomenal. They have a talent for it that I could never hope to replicate. And they are just instinctive about it. You touch them and they know the moves, and they can't always relay to you how they do it or regurgitate and demonstrate and teach you how to do it. So we emphasize being the engineer so that we can, reverse engineer things, add that structure in and teach people the foundation. And then once you've developed a good base, then we encourage you to try to become more of an artist and develop that unique style to where you can, be a little bit more creative on your own. I realize that I'm not one of those artists. So my talent lies in being able to take the system, develop it, structure it, and then help people learn the stuff more efficiently and get to a level that, is very competent. I can't necessarily match some of the jiu-jitsu greats that are doing stuff, but I can get people to my level more efficiently than a lot of other folks. And that's my goal, and that's how I approach it all the time.
Jiu-jitsu is our tool of choice to do what we do to help people make better. Now, one thing I'm thinking of, here we are in Athens, Georgia. This is Georgia football, right? Georgia
Absolutely.
Bulldogs, right? And who is their coach?
Who's their coach right now? It's Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart. Where did he come from?
I don't know where he originally came from.
University of Alabama?
But he did some time there.
Right. And Urban Meyer, was that Urban? No. What's his name? Coach of Alabama, the one that's retired. I can never remember his name. I read his book. Anyway. Basically, he's the greatest college football coach of all time. He won like 8 national championships. And when I read his book, Nick Saban, by the way, when I read Nick Saban's book, everything is systematized.
Yeah.
And he would lose coaches like Kirby Smart, like who's the one that coached at A&M, who we just lost. Can't remember. But he'd have a number of coaches that ran through his system, and UT's coach, not Tennessee, Texas, the other UT, because I know we're right near Tennessee. So whoever the coach is for University of Texas Austin, he ran through that system as well. And when you systematize it, you can have a situation where Nick Saban would lose a really good coordinator, and he'd have to replace them. So in the book, they were saying that when a new coach comes in, he doesn't bring his own system in. He learns Nick Saban's system and executes it, right? And that's how you get to 8 national championships, because you run a system. And that's what we do at Combat Jiu-Jitsu. That's what you do. And yes, the art part is, we're running a martial art, but you got to get to a point where, after you learn the basics, then you have to now take it to where it works for you and where you can most effectively express yourself, right? If you think of a Picasso, of a Monet, all those artists, they all learned the basics. But once they learned the basics, then they took it and then made it art and made it their art. And that's what I want all my students to do with Jiu-Jitsu. But you need the engineer mentality to get it started so that everybody learns the same thing, gets on the same page, and from that certain point you can launch off and go and do what you want. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is a lot of folks spend a lot of time on perfecting their skills on the mat, but they don't put the same effort and put their ego aside to learn the same thing to become an instructor, and put the same effort into becoming a business person and learn those systems. And so they're only one-dimensional. Their jiu-jitsu's great, but they don't have these other aspects. They're not great instructors. They don't have these systems for their business, and it's because they just haven't focused on that.
You mentioned business a couple of times already, so I'm just that's a good segue into the business part of running a jiu-jitsu school. One of the things, we're going to get a lot of people that are going to comment. I'll try to head it off right now, where they say, well, you guys are just a bunch of greedy guys, and because you run it as a business, you're just looking to make money. What do you say to that?
Well, what I say is there. A lot of people say that money's the root of all evil, and that's not necessarily true. It's the love of money. So I don't see anything wrong with getting paid well for doing a good job. I think it's part of what makes America work. It's capitalism at its best. The problem is when you sacrifice quality for money, and when you start, giving up your professionalism just to get paid. And that's not what I encourage anybody to do. I think everybody should be as professional as they could be. And the more professional you are, the more you invest in being a professional, the more you deserve to get paid for it. We pay all of our folks in America. We pay doctors well. We pay lawyers well. And all of the folks that, put a lot of time and effort into their education so that they can serve other people. And I think jiu-jitsu is just the same. If you put in all that time, effort, and energy into becoming knowledgeable and being able to help people, I'd say it as the more you serve, the more you deserve, and that includes money.
And that's a good point. And I'm thinking as well that if, let's say you just think to yourself, no, I'm just going to basically give it away for free. Okay, that's awesome, right? But what incentive do you have to keep teaching people? Right.
Well, not only that, I think when you, and we've done different things where we have given things away for free, and one of the things we've seen is sometimes when you give things away for free, people don't value it. And so they don't put any priority on it. And the truth is, if I want committed students, the big thing is if you show me where you invest your money, you'll show me where you invest your effort.